Hi, my name is Newell Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to take a look at our urban worm bag that has the European Nightcrawlers in it. Now, it's been a while since we've checked on this system. We've added a lot of food in the past. This time, I have some pre-compost to add to the system, along with some fresh bedding and maybe some food as well. But this should be a really good food source to maybe try to boost up this population as I try to grow my worms out again, so that way we can handle the massive amount of food I'm going to get probably during the summer with one of my sons coming home from college. So with that, let's take a look at the system, see how it's doing, see how the worms are doing, and see what it needs. We'll have, again, the food, the pre-compost ready to go. We have water ready to go, and I, of course, also have some biochar ready to go. So with that, let's take a look at the system. All right, here is our urban worm bag. Let's go ahead and open this up and take a look. All right, I'm already noticing there's not a lot of moisture on the cardboard on top. There's no moisture on the lid here. And I took out the fruit fly containment units. I haven't had any real fruit flies in the basement or in these systems, so I have not felt the need to put them right back in. So with that, I've got my gloves on. Again, I do recommend gloves. I know some people don't, but I do. Oh, and I can already see our first worm. And remember, these are the European Nightcrawlers here. Let me just see if I can get the better lighting on that there. There we go. So these are our European Nightcrawlers here. It's moving around a little bit. It's trying to search for soil, see what's going on. All right, now it looks like right underneath all this cardboard, we have exhausted all the food that was in here. So that's what it's looking like right now to me. I know this system does shake around a little bit. I'm sorry about that. Not much I can do right now to hold it down, but this, oh wow, this material looks fantastic. Again, lots of worms in the upper parts of the soil. We've got lots of little white worms in here. They look bigger than pot worms to me. I mean, like right there, right by my thumb, that looks bigger, way bigger than a potworm. I'm used to having potworms that are more small than this. They don't look a little bit, they don't have quite a pinkish color, although I would think they're baby worms. I don't know if these are or not. Somebody, let me know down in the comments if you think these are baby worms or not, or if you just think that these are potworms. To me, it looks like these are longer than potworms would be. So I think those might be baby worms in there. All right, let's just dig down a little bit more. This stuff feels fantastic. Again, plenty of worms in there. We've got real live living worms in the soil. It's a little bit stickier than I like. I wish it was a little bit more granular, but that's okay. Let's just kind of dig around the edges here. This needs to be harvested really badly. I do have a friend that's interested in some. Now here's another, again, these might be potworms. I don't know. I don't know if that's in focus or not. They might be potworms. They're all over the system, though, and they just seem a little bit big for potworms to me. I mean, I definitely am familiar with potworms. I mean, here's a whole bunch right here that are together. These look like a little bit more yellow, so I want to say that these might be baby European Nightcrawlers. I don't think these are potworms. There's something new that's in my system that I've never seen before. But let me know down in the comments what you think they are. They seem bigger than normal potworms to me. I've definitely had potworms in my systems, and I don't mind potworms. They break down the stuff just like everything else. Again, there's a whole bunch of them in this system. So I think these are baby worms. I think we need to get them to grow out, and the way to do that is to give them lots of food that's good for them, and we need to really get rid of this cardboard. This cardboard was not eaten off the top. They just ate the food layer, and that was it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and dig this out a little bit. We're going to move some of this bedding material underneath some of this other compost that's there. We're going to kind of bury this in a little bit. Now, I'm not adding anything that's cold this time. I have added cold stuff in the past to my systems, but if I did, I would want to make sure that there's a layer of cardboard or something to protect the worms. This time, though, we're not doing that. We're not adding anything that's cold. We're going to add stuff that's ready to consume pretty quickly. And we're just going to we're going to put it in the center section. I almost always add everything to the center because I'm afraid if it's on the outside, it'll dry out. So I'm just going to clear off my gloves here. We're going to add a little bit of food, some moisture to the system, although it feels like it could be moist enough. There's enough moisture in here definitely for worms, although I'm worried about it drying out even more as we add some more things to here. Actually, you know what? Let's instead of starting with food, let's get a little bit of biochar in here. Let me grab so I've got a little biochar bucket here. I did finally make some more biochar, just so you can see in here. And I've got videos on how you can make biochar and grind it down and everything. This is quite a slurry here. And let me just go ahead and grab some of this. Now this is going to be more liquidy than biochar at the moment because I got to really reach down in there to get to the biochar part of it. And I didn't have a whole lot still. I still need to add some more. So you can see we're adding some nice granular biochar. I really like grinding it up into nice small chunks. This is probably a little smaller than it should be really in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I like the fact that it can get into little crevices and it has a whole lot of biochar itself has a whole lot of crevices that things can get into, and along with that, it makes it where there is more air and space for bacteria to get to. Now with that, we're going to add some food, just a little bit, because we have special pre-composted material we're going to be adding as well, but I do like adding just a little bit of food in here. So we're just going to put a little bit of food. Now this is going to need some water as well. Just find my little container here, and this water that we're adding is the fish water from a fish tank. So we're just going to go ahead and pour that in just like that. And I don't worry about putting too much water in these systems. I have buckets underneath that's going to catch any extra water. But you can see right here, we're going to just go ahead and scoop some of this up, move it around, put it back in there with some of the other material. That's going to get this nicely inoculated. And this is a little bit more goopy than you'd want coming out of your system, as you can tell. But at the same time, this is going to make sure that there's plenty of moisture and food for these worms. And actually, I'm seeing even more worms now that are sticking to my gloves. All right. Now with that, the last part to this is our pre-compost. Now, I'm going to need 2 hands to grab this. And that is in this container right here. Now this is harvested from the Vermibag Mini that I made it in. There was some white mold on it, which I'll show you right here. There's some white mold. I'm not too worried about that. That's just stuff that the worms will eat. So we're going to go ahead and throw this in here, this entire thing of pre-composted material. Just like this. I'm just going to tip the bin over. And that, it was pretty dry, as you could tell. It didn't really stick. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. And look at that. That fills that in perfectly. Now this is going to be a really good layer on top. The worm should really, really like this layer. Now it is a little bit dry, so I'm going to wet this down again using some fish water. I'm just going to kind of spread it around. Just kind of let it soak in like that. And then also I'm going to grab a little bit of our biochar here. And the biochar I do find helps prevent things from smelling in my worm bins. I have found that it really helps a lot, and I'm actually quite surprised how much. I noticed a huge difference in my pre-compost container. One of them smelled, the other one really didn't. Now with that, I have got a whole bunch of stuff all over my gloves, and I'm going to go ahead and use my sprayer to get this off. And I always do this right over the system, so that way it all just goes right into the system, no big deal. Just like this. And this way I don't get any, if there's any worms or anything on my gloves, they don't get into another system, since I try to keep my system separate. Look at that, there we go. A little bit more right there. There we go, that's just going to soak down into the system. As I said, I do have a bucket underneath here that'll catch any extra water that comes out. Now, I could cover this up with more cardboard, but I don't think I need to because of the pre-compost. I think this is going to be just fine the way it is. We'll come and check back on it, hopefully in about a week or 2 weeks maybe, and we'll see how it's doing. Now, with that, what do I need to do? I need to make more pre-compost for this. So now we're going to go ahead and close this up, and we're going to go back to the table and make some more pre-compost, which is going to be one of my new patterns here, is making more and more of this for my systems. So with that, I'm going to close this up. Now let's head over to the table and make some more pre-compost. All right, we have our empty bin here. First thing we need, some cardboard in there. And actually, that's not going to be enough. I'm going to have to add some more. And I do like having, I'm trying to finish off the larger piece of cardboard that I have here, but I'm going to add some of the smaller stuff in here as well, which I think works a little better for this. Maybe a little bit more than that. Once we get this wet, this is going to kind of move down a little bit, so we can add quite a bit in here. I'm going to have to maneuver things around so I can grab more in my bucket. This the container I have this in currently is the box shredder came in, and that just doesn't work as well. It's not quite long enough to get the bucket in. There we go. That's a good amount of cardboard in there. We might need a little bit more, but at least that gets us started. Now with that, we need to add some of our food source that we're going to add in here. So I'm just going to make a little bit of a divot in the center. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my FoodCycler output. Again, if you want to see about a FoodCycler, I do love this thing because I can put chicken bones and some different stuff in that I would never ever throw in my compost bins for my worms, but I could throw it in here, and then it seems to be just fine. Like even onions and things like that I just don't throw in because of the smell. Throw it in the FoodCycler, no big deal throwing it in here. All right, there we go. You got, well, maybe a little bit more. We want to really make sure this is super powered with food. Make sure it heats up just like it has been. We've been reaching about 80 to 90 degrees with these pre-composted materials. All right, so that's that. Now what we need some of our biochar. So I'm going to just grab the bucket though. I'm going to pour part of the bucket in. I will say I'm going through biochar a lot faster with this because of the amount. And this, by the way, does have fish water in it. This isn't just normal water. All right. Let's just see if we... Oh, wow, we're going to need a lot more water than that in there. That basically just soaked right into this, and that's it. So that's okay. I've got a bucket full of fish water here as well. All right. This is a little heavier. This is pretty fresh. We're just going to go ahead and add in a whole bunch. We can always readjust by adding in more cardboard. You can see right now, it's all the way out here to this corner. It's just sort of floating around. But look at that. We're just going to go ahead and move this around. I'm going to look at that. It's been soaking in already. But this is going to let this soak in to everything. We're probably going to need more water than this, actually. Now, I do keep underneath the vermibag that I have that I'm going to put this in. I do have a bucket underneath there, or a container that can catch any extra liquid. So this isn't a problem. If there's extra liquid, I just need to move this around here. Actually, I wonder if just do this, maybe just to get it to run to the other side. Just lift one side of it. Or we could just rotate the cardboard through that's dry. Either way. We want to make sure we get all of this wet. And get everything kind of moving through here. This does seem to be leaning one way. So let's just see if we can just run it all to the other side here. This is where we've got a lot of the dry cardboard is on this side. Cardboard, I have to say, does not soak up water very well. I've been doing this for a while where I typically will leave it in a container to let it soak for a couple hours. And now I'm asking you to do it in a couple minutes. And I definitely find that these smaller chunks are better than some of these larger pieces. But again, the best thing to do is just sort of mix everything together. Just like this. I guess still got to break all this stuff apart too, all the food that's in here. We really want to kind of mix it. Maybe I should have done that while it was dry, sort of mix it into everything, because that also holds a lot of moisture. You can see right now it's starting to look a little bit better now. Now, as I said, with the biochar mix in here, I found that there was a little bit of an odor when I walked near it, but my entire basement did not have an odor, unlike the first time that I made it, where my entire basement just had a composting odor. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. You could definitely tell what was going on. The second time with the biochar in there, I could only smell it, as I said, right near the system itself. I could smell a little bit, but I really had to open it up and kind of go over to it and really be able to tell what was going on. And it's a more open system than the cardboard, the Vermibag Mini was a more open system probably than the grow bags that I was using that had everything in it that was in a plastic tote. So, all right, maybe this is going to be good for water. I don't know. There's a little bit more moisture in there. But this is about the right amount. I want to make sure I replace what I took out. Kind of get this going again, get this inoculated, get it warmed up. Now, if you have issues with asthma or breathing or anything like that, you might want to really make sure you have something that's going to filter out the air. I actually did have a shop vac over near my Vermibag Mini when I was working, when I saw that there was some white mold in there, and I would kind of kept the vacuum running to kind of suck up anything that might be in the air. I've heard white mold isn't that bad. Black mold is the real issue that you really have to be careful with. If somebody wants to comment down below and correct me in the comments, please do. All right, with that, I think we're good here. I think we've got enough in here. Hopefully there's enough biochar. I don't have quite as much as I did in the past. Let me see if I can actually get a big scoop of big scoop of biochar, just the granules itself from the bottom here. And the reason why is that this does settle. Unfortunately, as I said, I just don't have quite as much as I did in the past. You can see right there that's pretty black, but it does settle into the bottom of the bucket that I have, so I've got to make sure that I kind of scoop it up from the bottom. Otherwise, if you let it sit, the water will turn clear, and probably be pretty clean because of the fact that the biochar is meant to absorb stuff like that. You can run, water through charcoal, activated charcoal, and clean it. And that's exactly what you're doing with biochar. It's just, it hasn't been activated quite like you with vinegar or anything like you would for activated charcoal, but it still would filter out things. So with that, let's just take a look here in the center. I think this is pretty good. There's a little bit of moisture in the center, but it's not too bad. It's not like it's saturated. When I dump this in, it's going to soak into the other material that's in the Vermibag Mini for the pre-compost. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the system, and we are ready to go. So with that, the urban worm bag looks good. There were lots of worms. I think there were baby worms. Leave a comment down below if you think those were pot worms. I really don't think that they were. They just seemed way too large for pot worms. I remember pot worms being usually smaller in my system, and some of them had a yellowish color instead of a whitish color. So I don't know, and I never really paid attention to what the babies are supposed to look like. I figure the worms just multiply and that's all that matters, and as long as everything in there is composting the material, I just don't mind them being in there, the pot worms. So, all right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and add this to my Vermibag Mini. Please check out my other videos. If you want to see another video where I make this, I can link that down below as well, or you can check out the other videos that I have. So with that, I suggest you check out those videos, and also for the FoodCycler, check out that video as well if you're really interested in something that will grind up your food waste, including chicken bones and things like that, they can add to your worm systems. So with that, thank you for watching.